Anybody want to try the vanilla?
No, I've already tasted it.
I have already.
Anybody want to try vanilla?
But you have to hold your nose and take it.
Yeah, just hold your nose and drink it, right?
Hold your nose.
Seriously, just don't breathe, swallow it. And do you have a tissue? Do you have a tissue?
You said it exactly. Shut up. And nobody said English for you here. Hush. It's like the back of the class now. Shut up. It's all clear. Everything is working.
What does it taste like? It tastes bitter. It's really bitter. But when you drink it without, it smells like this. It smells so nice. When you want to drink it now, it will taste bitter. The moment he starts
That's your spoon.
If you want
it's yours now. You can give it back.
Vanilla is one of those tests. You put it into everything to make it so much nicer, in custard, and caramel, and make everything so nice.
No vanilla for you.
The sense of vanilla. Vanilla tastes really good. But the moment your flavor receptors come online, it doesn't taste the same, smells nice. But that's your whole like nose tricking you into thinking something tastes. That's the hot drink. And so yeah, flavor is basically determined by chemical taster, chemical mixer taste and smell. And smell is the main determinant in flavor. So while food is limited to 6 tastes, smells are limited, which is why like chemical companies like this, like food chemicals, they make mint money off every possible flavor that you could find. Banana, almond, whatever. If you actually take any of those flavors and hold your nose and taste them, they all taste uniformly bitter and horrible. But you put them into food, and when you cook them, the flavors get, like the aromas get released, and it makes everything seem so nice. Okay, now this is a little bit of a controversial area where they're still doing tests because they think that apart from like your genetic tendency to like certain foods and eat certain foods like the fats, the umami, the bitter, the sour, all that kind of thing, food preferences could also be like directly passed on through, you could actually inherit your mother's food preferences.
In utero.
In utero. And they tested this in Malawi with a bunch of mothers where they had like one bunch drink a glass of orange juice every morning. And they drank OJ like to pretty much like 4 months of their pregnancy. The other mothers didn't drink it at all. And some drank it like occasionally. When the kids were born and they came to like the point of feeding them their first liquids and stuff like that, you found that the kids whose mothers had drunk orange juice, most of those kids, like substantially more preferred, like they took to orange juice immediately because some kids, they spit out stuff and you have to try them on various things before you hit on whatever works for them. They took to OJ really fast. The group whose mothers didn't drink any OJ and drank water and other liquids had absolutely no preference. They didn't have a dislike of OJ, but they didn't show any keen preference over the one or the other. Okay? But the group where the mothers drank it regularly for 4 months showed a preference. And then they tested it with alcohol, but not on humans. They tested it on rats. And they made pregnant rats, they fed them alcohol, and they found that the babies, actually when given normal water and alcohol-laced water, went straight to the alcohol-laced water over the fresh water. So now they're doing more like research into it because they think that your food preferences could be passed down from your what your mother ate when you were eating as well. And yeah, then we come to the last slide, which is now you have taste, you have a sense of touch, smell, all these things, all your senses basically engage in the act of eating. But we have one major sense that I haven't touched on yet, and that is
Sense. Tactile.
no, we did tactile, touch.
The visual.
Visual. We haven't touched on visual. And demonstrate that we have
Food.
We have food.
Finally.
We have, if you were given, like forget the sausages for now, but You have this brown, blobby, hummus-like looking things, and you have this. Which one looks better? Which one would you prefer to eat? Which one looks prettier on the plate? Prettier on the plate. Generally, human beings like visual stuff, so we tend to go for things that are prettier. So, pretty. Take the other one as well. Okay? So we have one really pretty, colorful, fancy looking thing, and one rather ordinary, blobby, brown thing. Yes. Take one, not the sausage, take the others.
Grab that, grab.
So,
Can we get one for
you can pretty much try eating the pretty thing.
Somebody let hold this.
Try eating the pretty thing.
Why aren't we doing the sausage?
We're not supposed to eat it together.
Don't anything.
I'm an innovator. Yeah.
Eat the pretty thing first.
Oh.
And
Can I come some hold it?
Like the whole thing?
did you taste first?
No, just eat.
Yeah.
Like this, bite into it and eat.
No, also just the kebab.
Yes.
So what did it taste like? Nice?
And then the
Did it
kebab.
live up to what it looked like?
No,
Then eat the brown blobby thing.
tastes
Does
better.
that taste better? It tastes better, doesn't it?
Not better.
So, which is why, like, restaurants use it as a cheat, but when it comes to eating and food, like most other things, sight is the most fallible of your senses. That's why they say the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, because however nice it looks is not a guarantee that it will taste good. So, like in other things as well, never trust your never base your judgment just on sight. If it looks nice and pretty and like delicious, it may not be. And that's why restaurants, you see all these like beautifully decorated, lovely things with sprigs and cranberries and stuff on it. And you're like, ooh, that looks so nice. And then you eat it and you're like, the meat is kind of tough, and I would have liked more salt in the salad, and the beans are undercooked.
Tastes like jet way.
So you never actually go by the looks of something, but restaurants make use of that a lot, because you can make something that costs $100 look like $1 million, prettying it up with lots of color and making it look nice. Right? Which is why you never rest your eyes when you eat. Look, that one is like a nice, yummy, fatty, juicy burger, and that's frankly like boring. But until you actually eat it, you don't know. So you never use like sight as a sense that is trustworthy with it.
And that's subconsciously,
Yes. And that's why we will end up, you may end up being disappointed too. Because people are still very visual.
Yeah.
So we tend, although our senses may not agree with us, the rest of your senses, your sense of taste, your sense of touch, your sense of smell may not agree with you. Sometimes if it looks nice, you'll eat it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's where people will poison themselves by eating those pretty red and white spotted mushrooms. They are deadly. Okay? But they look so much nicer than the moldy brown fungi that is generally the good mushrooms that are tasty. So where food is concerned, your sense of sight is pretty much the most unreliable sense you can have. But because humans are very visual creatures, we still go for it anyway.
There was I remember long ago there was a test they did where they took two like liquids that are basically the same, and one had like green coloring or something, and the one with green coloring, like when they got people to taste it, the people said that the one with green coloring tasted like lime, or I can't remember, I think it was orange, it was orange coloring or something, and they were tricked, they thought it tasted like something that it wasn't, so that kind of thing also.
That's exactly, because that's why in restaurants people find that you can get away with not having the most brilliant dish if it's garnished nicely and it looks pretty. Your visual senses are satisfied, so which makes the meal seem nicer than it actually is. If I took away the garnish and just gave you the underdone steak or the overdone steak with a lump of potatoes on the side, you'd be like, why am I paying such a lot of money for this? This is not even very nice. But if I put some juice, which is pretty much gravy, and like put a few sticks of dill on the side and scattered a few currants and raisins over the meat and made it look like $1 million, you'd be like, this is nice. And you'd eat it, but probably if you ate something that was really nice, you'd be like, nice, sir, why was I happy with that? and that's pretty much how restaurants trick you into doing stuff. Try the sausage.
Not really try.
Because the bread, the little pretty thing you had no seasoning whatsoever, just bread, lettuce, and peppers on it. Right? The meat had lots of seasoning and basil and onion and various things in it to give it all the flavor. The sausage was out of a packet, just fried without even any oil, just fried it. And the flavors are awesome. Which is because, not because that meat is different or better grade or anything, it's actually worse. It's packed full of artificial synthetic flavor. Which the moment you eat it, it's like, wow, this stuff is yum, so nice. It's all those like different flavorings and stuff like this. I haven't put any flavoring or seasoning to that at all. It tastes better than...
No.
Yeah.
No, there's a sense of betrayal suddenly when you
Yes,
talked
the
about
sense of betrayal. You're like, what? How can this taste so good and be not very good for me? But that's what companies do. They pay millions to create flavors that are chemically pleasing to like us, to our sense of smell and to our sense of taste. And they sell you junk which tastes much, much, much better than like freshly ground beef with like organic basil and onions and soy sauce and everything in that little meatball. And this wins hands down over that.
So we should use sausage as spices.
It's very bad. So that's the end of my presentation basically.
I have a question. So something that's been turning up in the last few years, I think you see this all the time. You see things like caramel chocolate with sea salt, right? Which is fabulous.
Yeah.
And one of those things that I think I read somewhere where they explained why it's such a great hit now is that if you eat something sweet, after a while your senses will kind of overload, that you'll hit a period of satiation, or there's only so much that the same sense can be triggered. After a while you're numb to it. But when you combine salt with something like sugar or some sweetness like caramel, for example, it keeps resetting it every couple of milliseconds or whatever. So you taste it always tastes that much more intense as a flavor because it keeps resetting those the sense of
It's absolutely true, because they found that like when somebody is say on a full stomach, had a proper meal, and then you have like a piece of chocolate or something like that, the amount of sweetness you actually taste is less, because throughout the meal you've been tasting salt, sweetness, sourness, whatever it is, and it's the same with salt, and you require less. If they put people on a 6-hour fast and then gave them salty, they gave them like normal food and chocolate and various things like that, and people had a sensation of saltiness at 50% less than the person who was on a full stomach. So, in other words, if you're on a full stomach and you're eating, to get that same flavor and taste and sensation, you need 50% more saltiness and about 40% more sweetness than the person on an empty stomach, because your senses are overloaded anyway, your taste buds have been working on that and not had time to reset itself. And also, the reason that people have chili chocolate and like salted caramel and like 2 or 3 flavors in one is simply because you eat one like a piece of chocolate or something like that, and your sweet receptors are engaged at that time, but all your other receptors are doing nothing. So it's always like variety and like having a mixture of stuff is more exciting to your taste buds. So when you have like chocolate and then you have an aftertaste of chili, you're like, it's 2 senses that are now involved. Or salt and caramel, it's 2 senses. So there's two receptors that are working now. Or more receptors, because it's the sense of those caramel and chili and stuff are also different. So the more sensors are working at the same time, the fuller you enjoy, which is why these weird combinations of food, people really take to them. So you're right. That's why people like this combination. And I think they found it out ages ago, because chili chocolate was invented by the Incas, not by us. They used to have like chocolate, they're drinking chocolate, they never said they ate, but they melted the chocolate and they drank it with a sprinkle of paprika.
Wow.
chili chocolate is like at least 600 years old.
And then chili and chocolate are the same family.
Huh?
Same family, which is why if you put chili powder into a hot chocolate, it's the same burn that you get in a real good hot chocolate at night. It's almost the same burn. Even without
But you
putting
get
chili.
that sweet balance. Like right now, the chili chocolate is very sweet balance of the chili aftertaste and stuff, which keeps all your taste buds like engaged and you're happy. You know, nothing more.
Very cool. Yeah.
Okay, now we can go back to just now eating whatever's left.
Alright, thank you. Thank you for feeding us.
Stop telling me that.
Let's do go present.